stuff. All right. So now this episode really isn't about public speaking, but scare tactics are used all the time in marketing and in all kinds of places like written sales letters, video sales letters, and let me tell you about infomercials. See, I saw an infomercial one time that was selling an aluminum tube with a bend at the end. It was shaped kind of like a giant candy cane. Well, the tube was screwed onto your garden hose so you could stand on the ground and clean your gutters out without climbing up on a ladder. Well, the entire infomercial was people falling off ladders. They were laying on the ground, knocked out from the fall. They're wearing neck braces. In other words, they were showing you the consequences of not having their simple aluminum tube. Now, if you really believe in your product and you know your product will help people, you should be willing to let them know the great side of your product or service. In other words, what could be if they had it, but also what they lose or what are the consequences of not having your product or service. For instance, if you knew what I know, you can have a world-class website for less than 150 bucks that will not only look great, but be technically correct behind the scenes. See, I've critiqued over 10,000 websites in the last 28 years. I see all the time websites the owners brag about that look pretty, but they have no chance of being found or pleasing visitors because of bloated code, incorrect code, hurtful keyword usage or no keyword usage at all, or security risks, multiple competing plugins, and the list goes on and all this crap that's wrong with these things. So you could learn what I teach you about this, or you could go on bragging about your piece of dog poop website that has no visitors and no sales. In other words, that's your consequence. No visitors and no sales from your website. Even worse, you might be the most credible person in your field, but people don't trust you because your website doesn't represent you well. Another consequence, and it's a sad statement I coined years ago, is a great marketer will beat a great practitioner any day of the week. That means someone not nearly as talented as you lets me teach them all these great marketing techniques, and they beat you out consistently for business. You wouldn't like that, would you? So, the first thing you need to do to add this technique to your marketing mix is to brainstorm a list of consequences someone would suffer by not knowing what you know or using your product or service. All right, so maybe you sell a dog training book or maybe a series of dog training videos. Well, you might brainstorm the following list of consequences. Here they are. No one wants to visit you because your dog jumps all over them. There's one. You can't have a quiet meal because your dog is begging for food. You get Thanksgiving ruined because the dog jumped on the counter and pulled the entire turkey on the floor. Right? I know people that's happened to. You're not welcome at doggy daycare because your dog is not behaved and it's aggressive. You can't get boarding when you have to make a trip. Your carpets are ruined because the dog isn't house trained. Your favorite glassware is broken because your dog knocked over an end table. Your cabinets and front door is scratched beyond repair, costing you thousands of dollars for replacements. And worst of all, you get sued by your neighbor and dropped from your homeowner's insurance because your dog bit the toddler next door. I mean, this list could go on and on for some time. So you need to start making such a list for your products and services. Now, here are some phrases that you can use to help set up your consequences. So the first phrase is, and there's loads of these, but here's some examples so you see what I'm talking about. So the first phrase is when you least expect it. So we're going to use that phrase. We'll keep up with the dog example. When you least expect it, you see a big wet spot on your favorite carpet. All right, that's a scare tactic. Here's another phrase. Fail to realize, and I'll use this in a sentence. What you might fail to realize is that the doorbell